everyone. Welcome once again to another episode of hashtag the Blue Mic English Edition, your independent favorites. This is an initiative by Big FM and Hungama Artist Aloud. And today we are so very delighted to have the legendary, path-breaking, Silver Jubilee celebrating, and certainly one of India's most respected bands, Thermal and a Quarter. And I think they call it as a TARC for short. And we can't have the entire band, but we do have, the founder and the guitar player and also the singer of the band, Mr. Bruce Lee Money. So welcome, Bruce.
Thank you so much for having me, Bob. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure and such an honor to have you here on, hashtag the Blue Mic English Edition. And, usually we ask our artists to introduce themselves and their music, but I don't think we dare do that, with a band like yours, because, every rock fan in India knows about Thermal and a Quarter. But what we will ask you is, what is it like to have been around for more than 25 years as a band? I mean, like, you're right there at the top. I mean, how's the view from up there?
I don't know. I don't know if it's at the top or the bottom or whatever it is, but the view is great simply because it's actually a view that spans behind 25 years of work, 10 albums, all the tours and everything else. And the view ahead is also still looking interesting. And that's what I find really gratifying. That's what I find really motivating, because it feels like we've still got a lot left to say and do. It doesn't feel like, 25 years gone. Are we, what are we going to do next? There's always something to do next. There's always something that keeps coming up. There's always more songs that keep coming to us. So it feels like we've got a lot more to say and do. And that's what I like.
Well, that's also really good to hear, that after 25 years, I mean, you still have something to offer. So, 25 years is quite a long time and we don't actually know where to start. But I think the best place to start would be from the beginning. So, do you still remember, what brought all of you guys together in the very first place?
Well, Rajiv, the drummer, and I are the founder members of the band. We're the ones who've been in the band for 26 years now. And we met in college, in Christ College here in Bangalore. Christ College has had a kind of interesting reputation when it comes to music and the city. It's long been associated with some of the city's best bands. And before us, there was a band called Millennials, which also owed their genesis to Christ College. And so I met Rajiv in college. He was a couple of years my senior. And we got together to play for the typical college competitions, the intercollegiate college competitions that you get sent out to because the college wants to make a name for itself and win these competitions and so on. So before a Thermal and a Quarter, we were actually the Christ College A team. That was our very original name that we had. And in 1996, there was an option to play at a semi-professional competition at the St. John's Medical College Festival. It was called Autumn Muse. And the semi-professional category is basically created to allow non-college students to also participate. And so the idea for Thermal and a Quarter was actually proposed by a friend of ours who was not in college at the time. He was a working guy. And the only way he would get to participate in a college competition was to be in this semi-professional category.
Right. So the first 5 years, I mean, these would be like the fun years, just starting out as a college band. And, what were, some of the best memories during the first 5 years? I'm talking about the kind of achievements, the things that the biggest ones that you got at first, and gigs in general, and just the fun that you had as a college band when you first started.
I think more than gigs and competitions, the best things we remember at that time was how the songs started coming together. The fact that we were writing music and not just playing covers at that time was something a bit different from many other college bands who we found ourselves coming up with at that time in our lives. We'd go to college competitions and pretty much 90% of the bands would be playing covers, and there would be a very small number that was playing their own music, and we were among that small number. And to win competitions like Strawberry Fields, which is a huge, still in the country, still one of the biggest rock competitions that happens. The National Law School, they're the ones who host that. We won that in 1997, competing with some pretty well-established professional bands at that time, and we won it on the strength of our own music. So that I think was some of the biggest wins in the beginning. Not so much the competitions, but just the fact that we were able to keep writing music and somehow scrounge together money and and time and effort to actually go and record them and learn in that process about the recording and about what it's like to be in a studio, how things are so dramatically different from a jam room or a stage. And so I think, yeah, we learned a hell of a lot in those first 4 or 5 years.
Great. So hashtag the Blue Mic English edition is, also where we get to listen to your songs, you're playing live. So I think it's time for us to listen to the first song. So what song are you going to play for us? And I'm very curious if it's going to be one of those songs that you don't want people to hear just yet. So will it be one of those?
It's a song called Tilt. And it's about how you can change your perspective when things go wrong, or just generally how you can get a new look at life. It's called Tilt. Yeah. Tilt, get a new slant, an angle you really want. Tilt, calculate the arc between Super Kent and Man Clark. Tilt for the midnight sun, in a flight to find the one. Tilt as you bolt off the blocks. What is real if not the clocks? It's the axis, it's the spin. Call it heads or tails. Which fate is yours to win? Fight it, teeth and nails. Tilt, get the right shot. No filter, no share, just the thought. Tilt, are you slow, are you smart? In the middle you'll find your heart. Tilt your head at me. I love the shape of you I see. Tilt the spine of the song till it can right no wrong.
So you came up with the first album, I think, in the year 2000. So can we talk about, some of the early albums where you chronicled the changes happening in your beloved city of Bangalore? Can you tell our listeners, what were the main themes that you guys were grappling with as songwriters in those early albums?
Album number 1, which came out in 2000, was quite aptly called thermalandaquarter.com. It's actually called .com, and the DOTCOM was spelled out simply because I think the year 2000 was a watershed year for the world in general. It was kind of when the internet, it wasn't the year when the internet was born, but it was the year the internet kind of became a rowdy teenager and started, thrashing about and having too much to drink and puking over everything, that kind of thing. The internet was suddenly this bull in the china shop. It was this new thing in the room that everyone was wrestling with. And it changed all of our lives in so many ways. So that album was called thermalandaquarter.com. And it was as a band for us, to be on the cusp of that technological change and seeing our city change as a result of that, because Bangalore very soon became the IT hub of the country. My first job was in a .com. It's truly special to be able to keep doing that, and we recognize exactly how valuable and precious that is, because it's definitely it's a lot of hard work keeping a band together, but it's also a lot of dumb luck, and so we're thankful that we're still able to keep doing that.
Now, we've been talking about albums, recordings and all, but let's not forget that, the hallmark of a band is actually their live shows. And you guys are like a live band and a half. So can you look back for us and tell us what are the major changes in performing live between the time you started, 1996, and now? When tell us about the bad, the good. I mean, don't leave out the grubby details.
Across most of that period, we've been essentially 3-piece, 4-piece. That's it. It's always been a trio or a quartet. But across the last couple of years, we've been experimenting with a 9-piece version of the band with a full horn section and backup singers and a keyboardist and all of that. And that's been really interesting because that takes me back to my early influence of Blood, Sweat and Tears and so on. Having horns in the band has always been something that I've liked very much, and it's been great to experiment with that. We still take that lineup out every now and then when time and space allows. Live, we've been through quite a few changes live, actually. I'd say between 2000 and 2010, there was one version of the band that would almost exclusively play improvised music. So there would be an entire sections of shows that were completely unplanned, completely off the cuff, and made by the room, as it were. That was something we did a lot back then. We don't do that as much now, and I think there is a feeling that we need to get back to that again a little bit. That whole jam band vibe, where there are a few songs, we play a set of songs, but then there's a whole bunch of just complete improvised madness, right? So
Right.
We used to do that a lot, I think, at that time. And between 2010 and 2020, we got more into structured compositions and more intricate arrangements and things like that. So I'd say those are kind of the broad movements in terms of what we play live. I mean, I still think we're very much an improvising band on stage. All the solos are different at every gig, and there's lots of parts of songs which are still left to what happens on that stage at that time with that particular audience energy and so on.
All right. Okay, so I guess it's time for us to listen to another song. So what song would you like to play for us?
Right.
All right.
So the next song, I'd like to play a song from that album I just spoke about, the one that was mixed at A.R. Rahman's studio in Chennai. It's a song called This Is It. And it was very relevant for the time because it talks about what if this was the last show? What was this? This was the last band, and after this, there was no more live music. Because we wrote it at a time when live music was kind of being banned in Bangalore. It was also the end of the 2008-2009 financial crisis, so things were really bad all over the world. And we didn't have any gigs, I think, for 4 or 5 months. And so we wrote this song about what if this was the last band? What if this was the last gig? And it's a song called This Is It.
Go on, squeeze the last drop from this little spot of limelight. 'Cause tomorrow the hipsters of hop will be the concubines of cool. And for all you know, this may not be that special show. So watch yourself in huddle time, and don't forget to keep in touch, 'cause this is it. Our time has come and gone. It's the way of the dinosaur, and who knows, maybe someday we'll find Plan B in a hit movie. We've got 3 R's in the band, but somehow we only read and write. We got lost in Numberland. It's not a pretty sight. So turn off that old tube drive, step into the light, look into those front row eyes, make your little goodbyes, 'cause this is it. Our time has come and gone. It's the way of the dinosaur, and who knows, maybe someday we'll find Plan B in a hit movie. This is it. That's it.
What were some of the major challenges that you faced as the band? I mean, like you said, like you just go from gig to gig, but there must have been times which were very difficult for the band, when you thought that, probably you'd have to break away or, put it on hold or something like that.
Yes, like with every other band, with every other creative pursuit, you go through ups and downs, man. It's not, those are kind of part of the, those are part of the deal. And I think, we make too much about this whole idea of, oh, we've got to think positive. We've got to always look for the silver lining. Sometimes the dark clouds are really cool, and they give you a lot of material. They give you a lot of stuff to influence your creative process, right? And like all the self-help gurus will tell you, you can't control what happens to you. The only thing you can control is how you react or how you respond to what happens to you. And for me personally, that's just been the way it is. It's things happen, and I use the things that happen to inspire me to create more. And I've found a balance between work and music and life and family that I think is sustainable. I can keep doing this. That's it.
Right. And I suppose that's because of the first 10 years that you had with the band, where you said earlier that, you didn't have to depend on your music, to make a living, but you had other jobs. And then, how important is this, in a country like India, to have jobs and other ways to sustain yourself? I mean, if you want to be together as a band.
See, I can say it's important, and I can say that that's how it's worked out for us. Will I advise all other musicians to follow the same route? No, you got to find your own path. But I'll tell you how much it made an impact on my personal journey and the band's journey. And I'll say that it helped. It helped not just in terms of keeping us financially stable for the first 10 years of our lives. It also helped in terms of teaching us to work. I mean, people think playing in a band, playing music, oh, it's all fun, it's creative, it's wonderful, you're in this amazing state the whole day. I mean, that's bollocks. I mean, it's hard work, man. You got to wake up in the morning, you got to practice, you got to get better at your instrument, you got to write songs, you got to get together, you got to jam, you got to look at Excel sheets and manage your money, you got to make pitches to sponsors, you got to talk to event managers who don't give a crap about you. You got to deal with all manner of unsavory individuals that's that are a part of show business, as they are part of every other business generally. So there's a lot of work, there's a lot of hardcore showing up on time, kicking ass, understanding how to make relationships, working with people you don't like, all of that stuff. And I think working outside of music, working in an organization, working in a corporate, teaches you a lot of those skills. Knowing what it is to be in a team, knowing what it is to do stuff you don't like, but you have to do, knowing how to manage money, knowing how to look at, like I said, those Excel sheets and PowerPoint presentations. I mean, it's part of work. And I think for 21st century musicians, given the way the record industry is right now, and the fact that more than 100,000 songs are being released every single day, if you don't know how to work, if you don't know how to manage your finances, if you don't know about selling and marketing and sales and business development and all that stuff, you're going to be left behind. You need those skills. You need to understand how all that comes together, even as you improve musically. So that's why I'm saying it's even more hard work that musicians have to do than anyone else who's out there doing a regular job. Because not only do you have to do all that stuff about working, you also have to focus on your creativity. You have to get better at your instrument. You have to find things to inspire you. You have to read. You have to watch. You have to listen. You have to do all those things. So it's mental. It's a crazy mix of things that you have to do, and we do it with joy, because at the end of the day you get to play. And when you get to play, it's like those 1 hour or 2 hours on stage. That's it. Everything else no one sees, and they just think like, oh, okay, he's having fun, but it's work, man.
What were some of the high points of your commercial success?
Most recent is, again, the songs from World Gone Mad. The song Leaders of Men was number 1 on the world indie charts, as well as the Euro indie charts. This is talking about terrestrial radio stations around the world. So it got a lot of airplay on terrestrial radio, not internet radio, or both actually, between, I'd say, March 2020 and June 2020. It was number 1 for almost 5 weeks. So that's I guess our most recent Tilt. The song I played first was number 2 on the charts for about 3 or 4 weeks in 2021. So that's our most recent commercial success, if you want to call it that. I think the album The Scene, which we put out in 2015, is also an album that did really well for us, and because it so intimately discusses the life of an indie musician in this country with the kind of things that we have to face. I mean, it's got songs like the sponsors backed out. It's got a song. It's got a song called Like Me, which is about Facebook. It's got a song called Just the Scene, which talks about what it's like to play in a bar, in a restaurant when no one's listening, and that kind of stuff. So that, I think, struck a chord with many indie musicians in the scene. And when we go and play it out live, it's quite nice to see how many people know all the words to every single song. So that was. And then, of course, all the opening acts that we were fortunate enough to do: Guns N' Roses, Jethro Tull, Megadeth, Deep Purple. So and each of those times, I think we learned again so much from watching that ecosystem work, that international ecosystem of bands and managers, and again, it's the structure and the organization and how well the whole thing is put together is something we learned a lot from.
Okay. All right. So I think we can listen to one more song, and if it's okay, can I request that favorite song of yours?
I could do this is kind of a. It's funny how the song always comes up even now, because it's a song called Paper Pulley, and people often call it our greatest hit if that's meaningful. But it's a song about journalism and the media and the relationship that the media has with the artist. And so I think it'll be a fitting way to end this interview with a song like that. So yeah, Paper Pulley it is.
Just met this funny man from the funny papers. Is there any other kind? Said he hadn't heard much about my rock and roll band. Sure hoped he had a story in mind. He seemed indolent and carefree. Lit up a cigarette offhandedly. Then he asked me if I wanted some good publicity. Hey, we just all in the same game. We are paper boy. You need a rag to write for, you do, paper boy. And I need one too to shine up my guitar. I do. But tell me, do I really have to talk to you? Name in bright lights, don't you want my picture? As you can see, I look really, really cool. You want me smiling, or the 3/4 profile? You gotta make this proof for the fool. Keep that aura of mystery. Keep them guessing indefinitely. Yeah. When I drive into that wall, you could say it was such a pity. Hey, aren't we just all in the same game? We are paper boy. You need a sneaky angle, you do, paper boy. And I need to fill my monthly rectangle. I do, paper boy. But tell me, do I really have to talk to you?
All right. So thank you so much, Bruce. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. A lot of fun. We're so happy to have you here on #The Blue Mic English Edition. And as you know, this is an initiative of Big FM and Hungama Artist Aloud.
Thanks for having me. Thanks to the Blue Mic, which is what this is called. Thank you very much.